Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, anyhow, let's continue on here for clarification. Like many other people, I decided to relocate to the southern states. A lot of people do it. And I didn't even question with that experience that I understand as of recently it's been fully validated. The career experience I have is very valuable, in full agreement with the general population. And that's what I believed would continue on with what's been true of my life. I expected to own a house again. I knew I would have a successful career. Without any question. And I decided to relocate to an area that was within 4 million people. Atlanta and Birmingham. I thought it would make absolutely no difference where I relocated. I would always incorporate back what's been true throughout my life in the exact same context. And I came out here, I believe, it actually may have been 2001 is when I got out here. I don't have the exact date. And initially, I got settled, and I began compiling that experience that I have, and I began doing the research. I would say, honestly, I came down here as honest as I can be. I came down here semi-retired, but without any question, I would have to continue on with a successful career. That's such a vitally important aspect of someone's life. I didn't know anything about the southern states. It was the same thing of what I experienced up north. Most of the people I interacted with, exactly the same context. Regardless of the area I'm put in, 99.9% of the people I've had a great experience with. I've come across, it's a different culture down south, but I'm the same person, and that's what I expected would continue. Now, I didn't know at that time any difference of a political environment. I never heard anything about immunity. I never thought it would become a factor. I thought everything I experienced in Lake County and up and down the Chicagoland North Shore would be an exact repeat. That's a big population base. When you look at certainly 1 million immediately where I relocated, 1 million. And then you add in, some larger cities, some large cities, relatively large cities, urban areas, or the outlining areas branching off that. And that's almost 5 million. I mean, that's a huge, and I was willing to relocate to any other area of the country too. And so, I took that experience I gained up north, which as of present day, my perception is accurate. If you were to incorporate me with the average belief, it would be, what I understand, that's a business professional, a very fortunate business professional that was able to gain some very valuable, unique experience in business, creating success. Very fortunate. And I expected that to continue. So when I got down here, I may have taken about a year off. That career became very important to me. I would have expected, I would have owned a house, again, and it would be a repeat. And there was no reason for me not to have any hesitation to any trust, because that's what I've shared. You can go back, you know, through 1960 through 2002, 2001, 2000, and I disclosed everything about my background during those time periods. They're way down at the beginning. Okay, that I have made sure you do know who I am. That's exactly the context to why I invested that time with the originals in 1960 through 1985, and again, 1960 through 2000, what I entered is 2001, I believe, and then I picked it back up in 2002, exactly where I am right now. That's the period I'm relating about. Anyhow, within a year, it would have been, I believe I got it down here in 2001, within a year, I was well on the works, pursuing a successful career again. And something funny happened this time. I have looked at every avenue now. Now there's certain aspects I didn't know yet, but certainly what's true about that background, I wouldn't even question by submitting that. I would be considered for that experience. I've only experienced honesty, integrity. I've never been out of agreement with what the general population would believe. I've always head on. Now, let me mention this. I don't know anything about politicizing of society, how beliefs become impressed on society. But I understand it's a real toss-up. Which is more important? Education or experience or both? That is an area that is just what I have heard. Is an interesting subject, isn't it? Which is more important? Because you've got someone who was most unique to gain some very valuable experience. And certainly I'm going to keep that really, in proper context for a successful career, God forbid. I wouldn't fool around with that. It doesn't have to be me. Of course not. I have no history of any personality substance in that respect. I would do anything I could to incorporate back in that norm. But this time, I experienced something that was just a little bit different. I wasn't making that match. For the first time, I didn't even think anything about it because I had such a good cushion. I came down here with about $250,000. I came down here with $120,000. But my creditworthiness put me about $250,000. Very good setting, a cushion. I would never even question. I'd continue on with what's been true in my past, right? Or different. I know that if I would have had it back up to Lake County again, that would have happened. I didn't know that at that time. So it should make no difference where I am. If you're looking at 1 million or 5 million in population, that's a huge population base. I didn't know anything about politicizing of aspects. And I am wondering. Now where I come from, it's creating success. Absolutely, you must have experience, or you must have that experience or expertise. And I do. From very fortunate. And when I submitted my information as far as my career history, I didn't know why that was happening to me. Another thing, too, is where is the initiative to create success? I didn't know about any politicizing aspects of society over the decades. At one time, many decades ago, I'm sure, well, quite a few decades ago, I'm realizing that it was incorporated as norm that you become an employee, and it starts as education. In reality, how much of that education is being applied creating success? I'd be surprised if it's 25%. It's usually the company's requirement, but that is very much, again, it's experience or it's education, all things considered. I understand it is, if you have no experience and no way to get it, it's obviously going to have to be education. But where is that initiative to create any success? No matter what level of education you have, there's absolutely zero initiative to create success. That was highly encouraged with the background I come from to create that success. Certainly with the background I come from, with my father's background as a CPA, a fantastic business background that I have. It wouldn't even question someone like that. Would be anything else but success. That's all I know. And makeup of me, couldn't that, I mean, the most desirable in personality and traits what I have to imitate off of who I am. And this time, wait a second, the politicizing aspects of society, it's professional management of this country. Where is that initiative to create success? For whatever avenue, whether somebody else, you're filling an employment position, which there really is no initiative to create success. There is none. You're filling an employment position. That's been incorporated as a norm for about 95% of the population. It would make sense, though. I understand we really have about 100 million people that are basically stagnant out of something like 350 million, 320. And so what about those 100 million? Over 33% of the population, almost 40%, is pursuing no success. They can't even get a job. It doesn't take that much. My God. And so there's a real problem there, isn't there, as far as the professional management? You would expect a perfectly healthy economy, and that's the norm I do come from, and it continues to be. And I would anticipate making an investment and the initiative to earn and be richly rewarded for that success. And that is politicizing aspects of society. I find that to be very interesting, how 100 million out of 320, and even with education, how much of that education is actually being directly applied to create any success? It's usually a company's requirement if they require it for that field. Certain fields absolutely require it. And yet, experience can be the same. It's a field I know nothing about. You seek a professional in that respect. And I did. I did everything I could to really look at, hey, why is this happening? I looked at every avenue. And then, okay, I've only experienced the highest level of honesty and integrity, and I don't even question the background that I come from. If I was in Lake County and I sought that expertise, I'd be able to get it. In Birmingham, I found that to be really odd that everything was medical. I didn't even give it a second thought. I didn't even give that a second thought. You can't go by a couple of people. And I didn't know anything about this incorporated norm yet. So let me share this experience as honestly as I can be. What happened here? I wouldn't even question the highest level of expertise of the professional management of this country, the U.S. Department of Labor, Education, Justice, those types of things, that the highest level of education would provide their expertise to. Certainly it does in Lake County. The highest level of expertise, solid. It's solid services. Every sector incorporated in society up there. I've experienced, and I'm particularly good at discerning the difference in those business practices. I've gained experience among the very best. And I want to be realistic. How many couple of times? I don't know exactly how many. But it's been a couple of times. It's probably been three, four. I mean, it's highly impressed on me. I've had a tremendous amount of career experience, which I understand is very solid as a professional in experience. And so I was looking for exactly the same type of context. Well, realistically. And so I didn't know anything about relocating to different areas or anything. I thought, 5 million people is a pretty good basis to start with here. And so I believed it. That's realistic to believe. There's no irrational components to that. And so I have continued to seek the highest level of professionalism to make that match out here. Without any question, if you can believe it, took a lot of work. I put a lot of time, a tremendous amount of research. Another thing too, the specific experience I had, it took research. I was looking to professionals themselves. And for whatever reason, I had to actually do that research. And that I eventually did. And so that is as honest as I can be. I didn't know anything about political environment or anything ever. It never was a factor where I came from, the political environment. It's an incorporated norm up there that it's a very good political environment in Lake County. Cook County, I would very much question with what I've heard about. Lake County, not any question. What I've stated, I've only experienced the highest level of honesty, integrity, and the healthiest contact. There's very little in Lake County that would be anything different. A pretty healthy outcome, particularly the background that I come from initially, up to about 91, 92, 1990, in there. I mean, it's 1967 through 1991. Long time. Get a real good solid footing. Who I am. If somebody sees Deerfield up there, they know it. And down here, I don't understand it. I've found very many interesting aspects, but that came a little later. It took a little time to understand it. I have never would believe some crazy, really, that happens in Cook County, not in Lake County. No way. That's what I know. So to get back on track there, I hope I'm able to refer back to that. I expected what's been true about my background would definitely continue. I found this to be most interesting. I didn't know anything about special interests or any of that. I just knew that if you check me out, that I add up very favorably, most favorably. You put me in absolutely. I'm so fortunate to have gained that experience. Realistically, I believe that something like that would be in complete agreement with everybody else, someone who comes from that type of background. And so I did find it to be very interesting, though, as I gave it a thought, why there's no initiative to create any success. But I wouldn't be, take a risk in any respect, though, as far as absolute survival. No way. But there's a limit. I mean, I have to look realistically, there is a limit. You don't expect, no way. No way. And unfortunately, for some reason, I began to learn about a little bit different incorporated norm, which I have shared many times in updates. I wouldn't even believe it. Didn't even give me a thought relocating back up north. What's true about my background will follow me no matter where I went with that population base. So, good, good. Now, what happened over the following 8 years is what's important. And most important, who is responsible? That's what's important. That's what I want to clarify here. It's not a, what I'm aware of, it's not a, you seek the highest level of wisdom. We're all in community in that respect. There are certain individuals that are highly, that's what society is today. Very fortunate we all fit together in that respect. I wouldn't even question anything about politicizing or general political environment, or I knew nothing about special interest. I am completely naive to that aspect, and I would never believe it will become a factor. Ever. I've learned it. It's something I would never want to know anything about. I've learned it. So let's move on here. Yes, I looked at the highest level of expertise. Where I come from is solid substance, exact context, all of that in the healthiest context. And that's what I anticipate no matter where I went. Shouldn't make any difference. Or does it? Let me share an experience here now as I clarify this further. I'm going to do this one more time of clarification. There's no reason to do it again. I heard that the South wasn't quite as developed, but it all depends. That's a very large population base. And so I decided to seek the highest level of expertise. In fact, in one sense, because there were still other areas I was investigating, but I thought certainly from the highest level of expertise, I wouldn't even question that. And that's what I chose. I got a helping hand from the United Way. I wouldn't even have to question that. See, I wasn't familiar with this area. That's as honest as I can be. So, I didn't even question. That would be it. And so, here we go. And I guess I'm going to be repeating some things over again. That is not psychological. Or is it? I don't think it is. I've never had any psychological issues before. I have no history of any personality issues. I have no history of anything ever deviating from the norm. I've learned what's true about myself. And I'm someone that I understand very fortunate in that respect. I have no history regarding psychology factors, the social sciences, except the healthiest context is all I know. That's all I know. That's all I've experienced. I've fully disclosed that. Psychologically, I am a healthy person. I have strengths and weaknesses, and I would delegate out, for the expertise without any question. And I worked my tail off to achieve that. And I thought, without any question, at the highest level, it would occur. Now you can give a second thought. Let me do the next update now and continue on with, working up. So all I know is I sought the highest level of expertise with what's been consistent with my background, consistent with her, and consistent with me. All of that should have happened. I think most people would be in agreement with that respect. So, with that, this is going to get unstable. I hope I'm able to upload this. So thank you very much for getting to know me better in that respect, and I'm going to go further in the depth here, what some experiences have been. Thank you. Thank you for getting to know me much better as I clarify this further.